It's good. Uh, okay, so weekly market review. Let's go. We do with the Nasdaq first. So let's have a look at the Nasdaq. Um, so the Nasdaq is not looking good for me, but it's not all doom and gloom anyway. You kind of looking like a big rejection candle here. We don't have any sort of bias at the bottom of it at all. I mean, a tiny amount, I think. Maybe there's a tiny. It's very tiny. You have to zoom in to see it. Like tiny, tiny bias. Um, it's not a big selling candle. Like the PVRA candles haven't lit up, which means maybe it's retail, which are probably selling. You know, people are scared and they're selling as opposed to money makers really selling their bags. And I go to 4 hours. What I can see on the 4 hour chart is we've got this one is definitely market maker buyer, market maker selling. Let me just go make this slightly bigger. So yeah, this is definitely market maker on offloading their bags, selling. And maybe this is a panic sell by retail. We're outside the Bollinger Band, so but my RSI is very oversold. You know, normally too, I like to see three of these. So here, one there, and another one here. And I think all of them, this is yeah. So yeah, so we've got the perfect match. One here, one here, one here. Um, so I think we have probably have a bounce back up into it. Before we maybe go down some more. Before if we're gonna go down, we go down some more, or maybe we can just come down a little bit to form like a double bottom here and here. So I've got my 19,122 as kind of like a place of potentially falls here, then it bounces up, or we go slightly lower, um, maybe somewhere here 1900. And then we go. So I think I got two scenarios: double bottom here, where we hit 19,127 and we get support, or we go slightly lower, just slightly lower. And I'll probably put my alert. Let's move on alert. I'll put an alert somewhere 1900, somewhere there, and then we will bounce back up after that. Um, because what I find with these Bollinger Bands is normally if you pierce it and come out, there's normally another one, a third one. So like
Yeah.
here, for example, like here, you got one, two, and three. Then you bounce up, then you have a lower high, then you go. So that's probably what I'm seeing with the Nasdaq, that we will have a small move to the downside and then have a big push to the upside. What say
Not
you?
looking good. Not looking good.
Let me leave it. Let me let you share your screen and then you can
Gotcha.
uh allow. What I'm gonna do is let me see if I can do multiple share.
All right, I should be live
Uh, okay,
on the Zoom.
I can't see your screen. Okay, hold on.
Maybe you
Let me
have to
just,
close yours.
yeah, let me see something. No, yeah. Let me make you allow multi-pin. Multi-pin. What's that? Let me just do more. Let me make you the host and then change host. That makes it easier. Okay, so it's over to you and stop share. Okay, I need to stop share. Okay, right. Okay, so I'll stop sharing. So you can share now. Oh, okay. No, no, actually, I could see now. I need to come out of.
Got
Okay,
it?
sure. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, fire it away.
Okay, so this is really not good here. Um we have a day to get above this upper Bollinger, which I don't think is gonna happen.
Which one is the upper Bollinger? Is it a red one?
The red, yeah, up here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably gonna have a this is the monthly. This is probably gonna have a waterfall effect and
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna gravitate us down towards Maybe around this neckline here. Um, either here, or kind of here are our bounce areas, but I think the deeper we go, is a little bit more likely here. Because you got your 1, 2, 3, you got your 1, 2, you got your. This was a huge downward.
That was a big correction.
Yeah. So I don't know what is in store for us. But we could grab a flush to the midline.
Hmm.
Technically, we are still in a bullish trend because we are above this midline, but we did lose the first sign of strength right here. So we're watching that. We're gonna watch this midline for the month of April. That is gonna be the big. And then if I just shrink it down to the weekly real quick, just to see what's going on. We have we're coming towards the lower Bollinger, which is good. Um, but what we like to do is we'll go tap this, maybe go a little bit below it, and then come back up. But what could also happen is we kind of follow it down for a period of time, kind of in that degree.
But you see that each time you touch the low, if in the history, each time you touch the lower Bollinger Band, first there's a bounce, even if you're going to go outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is why I'm saying that, give or take, at 1900, you're going to get a bounce, at least a bounce back up to form a lower high. Then if the lower high doesn't give us a proper push to go back up, then you're going to have your next leg to the downside.
Yeah, nothing really moves in a straight line. And these wicks, you know, they usually do get recovered like these here. These
Yeah,
got recovered.
cool. So what's your call number for the week?
This gets time when the wicks, you're talking about 11 Bitcoin at 11,000. I think we're pretty bearish right now. I think we'd head towards this midline,
No, but
which is at
like next week.
17,000.
Is it gonna happen next week though?
And next week think I think we'll be until June,
Yeah.
because May is a bearish time for the stock market. You ever hear the saying sell in May and go away?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did. Yeah.
That's usually right like 85% of the time. So I don't really, I mean, anything could happen, but I don't Bitcoin had a huge winter, and I think like Nasdaq did as well, and I think that's what I got for Nas.
Okay, cool. Let's go back into it. Let's go back in. Share. Okay. So let's then go to do we do the dollar or the XPX? We do XPX, yes. We do XPX, I
Yeah, we
think,
could
yes.
do. I mean, Dixie, we probably don't have to take much time on. You could probably
It's
just
gonna
do
go
real
down.
quick.
Yeah, I mean, Dixie
Not
for
a whole
me
lot.
is going to go down. Some more downside on the Dixie. I think it comes all the way back up to somewhere of these levels initially. 100. I'd expect it to come here. Maybe next week, next week might be far-fetched, but um, it could do it. It could do next week 100. We're 104 anyway. So yeah, next week I think we could be heading towards, here, between here and here as a kind of like an area because it's a key support zone. So I'd expect some reaction when we hit this point and we hit this point. But ultimately, it has to come all the way back to the trend line, which is like the 800 EMA. So, which is sitting around 95.95. That's where I would expect the dollar to land before we get a proper support in any way, shape, or form. Um, I mean, the US government's goal is to weaken the dollar because they want obviously to bring more manufacturing to the US. And if you want that, you need a weaker dollar to be for it to work. So that's exactly what they're doing. Um,
Been
and
their goal since the 70s.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it depends on the president, but you know, since they came into power, they came into power in November. Was it November? Yeah. You know, we had a bit of a run up, and
Hmm.
since then it's been just a downhill. And you've got also the 10 year as well. The 10 year is also falling. So, and this is also going to come back down to somewhere here. So, you know, and the dollar normally gets its strength from the 10 year. So you can see when the 10 year runs up, the dollar runs up. When it goes down, the dollar goes down. So I'd expect this also to come back down. And if it's coming back down all the way to somewhere here, maybe here, this point 3.4, that means the dollar is going to fall quite a bit as well. So that's what I've got on the dollar. Have you got anything else to add to it? Or
We can leave it at that. I don't have much for the dollar.
okay, cool.
Same old stuff.
Let's go to powerful Bitcoin. Um, I want to start my Bitcoin review with the CME gap. So I think last week, you know, the CME gaps, they always, most of the time, not all the time. So this gap has been filled by this wick, filled. And unfortunately, because we rallied down, we kind of went down and they were up here, we rallied back up to close the gap, which is exactly what we've done. So that gap between here and there is also being closed. So for me, I think all I want to see is I want to see us come back into this wick, you know, around eight. I would say I don't want to see us go below. I don't want to see us go below 78. I don't want to see us go below 78. If we go below 78, then it's going to get a bit more. We'll go down a bit more then if that happens. You know, and you'll be talking about the 73s and the 72s and what have you. But the scenarios are there are three scenarios. Either we only do 78, 79, maybe equal even 79. Let me move these here. So either we do 79, something like that, you know, yeah, 79, or we do a double bottom type scenario where we hit here, or alternatively, we will go down some more, which would be like the 72K. I'll probably say here 72, 73K, 74.5 maybe to the top. He stops here. So those are my three scenarios for Bitcoin. And after that, I would expect this to bounce back up and you know do a lower high. Even if we're going to go into a bear market, I would expect us to bounce from here to do a lower high to about call it here 90,000, 92,000, and then continue down if it's a bear market, which I don't think it is. But you know, so those are my scenarios for Bitcoin. And unfortunately, currently we are at 82.8 on the Binance Perpetual. This is the CME. So we're at 82. So we've already gapped down on them. So we already gapped down 82.9. If by midnight we are lower, then it actually makes it compelling that we're going to go more up. Because what will happen is if we are lower, maybe they come and help us to go down a little bit, but they would want to come up and close the gap, which means actually we turn around and hopefully by then you have this 9 day moving average, which is the green, would have completely crossed um, it's not crossed yet. It would have crossed the 21, and then you can just kind of reverse back up. So it all depends on midnight close today. If we close below 84, which I think probably will be the case, if we close below 84, that would be good because then we have a gap to the upside, and they will be very keen to reverse the price back up as a result. So that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin. Those are my scenarios. Let me
Well,
share. Let me stop share, and then you share.
It should be live here.
Uh, cool.
Let me know when you got it.
We're live. I got you.
Okay. So, kind of going off of, it really is good that we look at NASDAQ first because no matter how we cut it, NASDAQ is the market mover for Bitcoin. It has yet to decouple from the stock market. People have been willing it into existence since 2019, the decoupling, because Bitcoin is supposed to move like gold. It's a commodity. You can't replicate it. It doesn't exist anywhere else. So Bitcoin should kind of be moving like gold, whereas it's not. And this is kind of a problem that Bitcoin has and has had. And the longer that this issue goes on, the more prevalent it's going to become. If this keeps going on for 10, 15 years where we can't break away from the Nasdaq, it's going to be a problem. We got to get on that gold track a little bit because, Bitcoin would have the crazy bull run following the stock market, and then imagine in a perfect world it decouples and then keeps going. After the stock market starts heading down, Bitcoin decouples and keeps going up, stock market keeps going down. That's like the perfect scenario in a Bitcoiner's world. But coming from looking at that NASDAQ, looking at that chart, looking at that midline, we're going to head lower in the NASDAQ. So what's that mean for Bitcoin? We're probably going to head lower as well. So I'm going to kind of revert back to my original thesis here,
Mm,
whereas saying Bitcoin is probably going to continue to roll over. I don't know. I'm still think so if Nasdaq is going to be bearish, for a lot of May and maybe even June, what I'm thinking is going to happen is Bitcoin's going to kind of just roll over and then kind of come back up like this. An example of that is I'm not going to have good data because I can't go back in time, but Bitcoin loves to make these BARTs. So they'll come up and then they come back down and then Bitcoin loves to do it. It's its favorite formation, and I think it's in the future, our future. Um, we're below this midline here. I mean, each Monday we're gonna keep coming up, bidding price up to wherever it is right here, say 90,000. Gonna get buyers on Monday and Tuesday, and then we're gonna take all their money, go right here, right below the stop loss level, and then go back up, take their shit, come back down, take it again, So when there is low volume like this, like what's been happening, there's not a lot of interest. Market makers are they're gonna do probably crazy price action and take a lot of people's money. So if best case scenario sideways, kind of something like this, and then it's a real easy range to trade because you put a box on your screen and you go like this, you take the high, you take the low. Anything up in this region, you short, anything in this region, you sell. It'd probably make it a little lower because I think we're gonna go a little lower, but something like this, we're gonna fall down into this box and we're gonna stay here for a couple months, kind of like we did over here. Um, from like November to March, and we box out like this. Is probably what is gonna happen. We're probably just gonna be in a nice little contained box, and we'll be able to range trade for a couple months and hopefully make some money.
sure. So next week you're expecting us to go sideways, right?
What's that?
I said next week you're expecting us to go sideways.
Yeah, it's sideways at best, down at worst.
Okay,
We're losing a lot of momentum, and it looks really ugly.
sure. Okay, cool. I think we done. Um, so I think we'll call it a wrap. And I'll post the recording. Let me stop recording actually. let me stop recording. Where is okay? Let me just